You're looking good, and it feels good to be with you today. Hello, I am Kendall Bryan Hunter, author of this book, Consider My Servant Job. This is about the atonement, great Easter, Christmas, whatever holidays coming up. Great book about the book of Old Testament book of Job, where I talk about the atonement. And this is News with the Eyes of Faith, where I talk about news, a little technical problem, news from the perspective of Christ and the doctrine of Christ. Let's begin with the NewsBlips. First of all, the church released a AI search on handbook, Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. So we have a AI search engine. Is this going to lead to more policy hallucinations? I don't have AI bots write my talks because you need to study it out in order to get revelation. Study it out and then ask me. That's how you get revelation. It's not just word, but in power, as Paul talks about. Babylon Bee had this news story. Mormon wife designs future planet on Pinterest, Boise, Idaho. Local Mormon wife and mother of two, Hadley Christensen, spent a lazy Sunday afternoon using Pinterest to design her future planet. Now this is Babylon Bee. It's good natured ribbing. We're still having issues using the full, correct, and revealed name of the church, but they're playing around with this. A couple of years ago, they had, you remember with Bud Light, they said Mormon Senator Mike Lee wishes he drank Bud Light so he could boycott it. Okay, that's kind of fun. They're having fun. Just take it. You don't have to like it. Barna News. America needs spiritual renewal as fewer than half of Americans believe God exists. That's why we need to flood the earth with the Book of Mormon. If half of America doesn't believe in God, we need to get this message out. Not sweet rolls, not basketball teams. Get this the Word of God out. Atheist, the Freedom from Religion Foundation, announced their 2025 student essay contest. Here's some of the topics of high school seniors graduating this spring and attending college in the fall are asked to write on the topic of, quote, "To do good is my religion," from Thomas Paine. Currently enrolled college students up to age 24 may write on, quote, "Why the only afterlife that should concern us is leaving our descendants and planet a secure and pleasant future." Black, Indigenous, and students of color, ages 17 to 21. Remember, that's under federal policy now. That's now discriminatory in Supreme Court ruling. College-bound high school seniors currently enrolled in college students may write on the topic, "How white Christian nationalism endangers my rights." Freedom from religion. Graduate students through age 30 and older undergrads, ages 25 through 30, are asked to write on the topic, "State/church issues endangered by the Trump administration's capitulation to Christian nationalism." Freedom from religion. It's no surprising that last year, Richard Dawkins, the author of The God Delusion, stepped down. He said, "Yeah, this is getting out of control." When Richard Dawkins says your atheism is getting out of control, that's a benchmark. Okay, we've entered a higher dimension of things. When Richard Dawkins says you're extreme, okay, I'll just leave it at that. Elon in the news. Elon Musk. Disclaimer: I own stock in Tesla, and I also own stock in Donald J. Trump Media. Whatever that. It's the stock symbol is DJT. I own stock in both of those, so I'm being transparent with you. Just my very wrinkly Star Wars shirt, so I do have credibility with the nerds and geek. Will SpaceX rescue the stranded astronauts? This is our generation's Apollo 13, but it was ignored in the media due to partisan fealty, more loyal to their party and ideology than they were to humanity. Remember, Biden did nothing about these stranded astronauts, and you remember that him not doing anything about that Chinese balloon that flew over America? Pattern of behavior, mental acuity. I'm not sure what he said there at the end, and I don't think he knows what he said there at the end. Musk was on Joe Rogan, and he talked about immigrants becoming Social Security and permanent disability clients, and I have a link to this on X, and Elon Musk posted on his website, but it's an interesting clip how people come here from foreign countries, they're put on the Social Security rolls. Musk described this as the economic advantage, a giant magnetic force to access our standard of living. I have two friends of mine, both of them are disabled. They're trying to get on Social Security. One of them talked about how you need a lawyer. Okay, if you need a lawyer to get Social Security, there's something wrong going on, fundamentally, catastrophically wrong going on. But their funds and the wait list are increasing because they're being displaced by illegal people here illegally, illegal aliens. You're either America first or America last. And what's the long-term consequences of that? We'll talk about that a little bit later. Tesla and domestic terrorism. You've been seeing the films of the vandalism and the fires. The church spoke out about Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints spoke out about January 6th. They were quite about the Trump assassination, even though President Nelson did have a gun pointed ahead and it misfired, which he talked about in General Conference. So quite about the assassination, quite about these terrorisms. But they recently released a video about our partnership with the NAACP. I don't criticize a church. That's John DeLynn and Jana Reese and Elisa Grenfell, who she kind of went away really quickly, and then Nemo with his personal apostasy performance art. Now, I do ask for clarification and correction. So I don't dictate to the church to say, I'm confused by this. Can you explain this? So if the church keeps quiet for whatever reason, I could speak up as a private member and a private citizen. I was born in California, so I'm a citizen of America, expatriated Californian. There's a lot of us oddled. Let's talk a little bit about immigration now. We're going through this. This is sort of a get-to-the-point version of the news. Immigration. The El Salvadorian gangbangers sent back to El Salvador. First of all, why did this take so long? It's such an obvious thing. So Trump criticizes a judge who tried to halt this, and it's an interesting question. Who sets policy, the president or judges? Well, it's the American people do. But and they called for impeachment. Now, I think it was like this last week or maybe the week beforehand, Desert News published an article with Judge Thomas Griffith, and Judge Thomas Griffith was criticizing Trump's attacking judges' good faith. Now, it's a very, very balanced article. Now, a disclaimer. This is my other disclaimer. Judge Thomas Griffith was my stake president for a bit, so I know him personally, and this is not a personal thing. I appreciate his sacrifice in being a stake president. It took up a lot of time. And he is someone who could have made a multimillionaire going into private practice, but he chooses to serve his country, and that's also admirable. And I respect his comments. I respect his decision. He was involved with a research called Lost Not Stolen about Trump's claim of having the election stolen, the 2020. It's a dead issue now with his reelection. Won both the Electoral College and the popular vote. Popularity polls, which aren't legally binding, they're heading his direction. Who's against stopping government corruption? That's how it's getting framed. And pay attention to the persuasion war going on. Factum ad judici quod ad ujus officium non spectat non ratum est. That's the Latin phrase. It means the act of a judge, which does not relate to his office, is of no force. So Judge Griffith is making perfect, healthy, appropriate, necessary, and welcome political commentary. I 100% endorse that. Allow him to speak. And he has the expertise we need to know on this issue when he says that these judges that he knows, they're acting in good faith and they're not being partisan hacks. However, we have this other issue that comes from the Book of Mormon, Alma 27. And now behold, I say unto you that the foundation of the destruction of this people is beginning to be laid by the unrighteousness of your lawyers and your judges. Third Nephi, that's Alma 10:27. Third Nephi, chapter 6, verses 27 and 28. Now, this is when the Nephite civilization collapsed, just before the second coming. Now, it came to pass that those judges had many friends and kindreds, and the remainder, yea, even almost all the lawyers and the high priests had gathered themselves together to unite with the kindreds of those judges who were to be tried according to the law. And they did enter into a covenant one with another, yea, even that covenant which was given of them by old, which covenant was given and administered by the devil to combine against all righteousness. So lawyers, judges, and high priests. You know what the Book of Mormon says about lawyers. Okay, that's why I have a law school at BYU to counteract that. And even if you don't go to BYU, you as a lawyer can be an influence within your law school and your practice to be a lawyer for righteousness. So I'm not accusing Judge Griffith or anyone of anything specific. I'm just talking about this principle contained in the Book of Mormon as general theological principle. And remember, the church is still under condemnation because of our neglect of the Book of Mormon and the principles, and this may be part of it, not taking this this issue with judges seriously, which you wouldn't think would be part of the Book of Mormon has the fullness of the gospel, but you wouldn't think lawyers would have an aspect on the gospel, but they do, as the Book of Mormon points out. So Judge Griffith says these judges are acting in good faith. So he has this expertise that I don't have, so I'll defer to his expertise. Book of Mormon says you need to pay attention to the lawyers and judges and the high priest. Chuck Schumer said this. I have a link to it. He's senator from New York. Yes, our democracy is at risk because Donald Trump shows that he wishes to violate the laws in many, many different ways. The good news here is, quote, we did put 235 judges, progressive judges not under the control of Trump last year on the bench, and they are ruling against Trump time after time after time. And we hope that appellate courts, when it gets up to them, and the Supreme Court will uphold those rulings. So Griffith says they're acting in good faith. Chuck Schumer says, no, we put a bunch of these judges on here with the intention to stop Trump. Those statements are irreconcilable. This is Aristotle. In his book on metaphysics, Chapter 4, he talks about the law of non-contradiction. Something cannot be true and false in the same way at the same time. For example, you're walking along and you see a young couple, and they're holding hands. You say, hey, I heard you two are engaged. Is that correct? The man says no. The woman says yes. That's the law of non-contradiction, and they probably should get marriage counseling. But what Judge Griffith and what Chuck Schumer are saying are irreconcilable. So you break the deadlock by going to the Book of Mormon. That was about immigration with the El Salvadorans. It touches upon immigrations, people here illegally committing crimes. The church had I Was a Stranger program. It really came out around Trump was vetting Muslim people. President Dieter F. Uchtdorf has been talking about his two times experience as being a refugee in Europe after World War II. Now, I don't criticize the church. Other people can do that to their heart's content. I do ask for clarification and correction. And we sort of got that with a recent statement. The first principle was the church says we will follow the law, which means you follow the immigration law. Section 1, Article 8 of the Constitution says Congress creates a uniform rule of naturalization, and we don't have a uniform one. When you talk about fast track, that's actually an unconstitutional principle. And that's what Trump's doing. He's shaking up the apple cart. He's saying, look, you need to follow this stuff. We need to get the spending under control. This is out of control. So Book of Mormon insights on this. People of Ammon, the anti-Nephi Lehis, those were refugees, so they're welcome. There was a religious persecuted Lamanites and persecuted because of their faith. They were welcome to the Nephites. Now, does the Book of Mormon say anything else? Jacob chapter 5, the allegory of the olive tree. You graft in too many branches into the tree and it kills the tree. You see this in South America, where people meet the missionaries, they get this emotional surge, they go to church. 3 weeks later, someone says something that offends them and they leave the church. And that's what Jeffrey R. Holland was doing in South America a number of years ago, just consolidating wars because things got out of hand. They grafted in too many people. You cannot assimilate people. There is a threshold of assimilation, a threshold of lethalgy. And we have to use wisdom, order, and common sense. And that's what King Benjamin's words were. Do things in wisdom and in order. And as what we're doing is not wise and it's not orderly. Here's another principle from the church. Temple recommends. Now, to get into the temple, you get vetted. You get vetted by your bishop, and then your stake president, bishopric level, stake presidency level. Then you have an ID. With immigration, are we following this? Voter ID. Well, you have to have an ID to get in the temple, but you don't need one to vote. Is that a double standard? And are we comfortable with these double standards? Can we compartmentalize our brains in such a way? Aristotle, law of non-contradiction. Right here, Book 4 of Metaphysics. Aristotle, Book 4 of Metaphysics, law of non-contradiction. Okay, you need a temple recommend, but you don't need one to vote. Elon Musk, magic money machines. Now that is perfect persuasion. You need to win the persuasion war. That's different than winning an argument. Argument's logical, persuasion's emotional. The government was creating untraceable money. If this is fiat currency, this can cause inflation. That's why you don't wish everyone to be a millionaire. It causes inflation. Adam Smith in Wealth of Nations talks about this. He wrote during the time when the gold was, Spain was getting all the gold back from the Americas, from the conquistadores, and it was causing inflation in Europe. More Elon Musk news, Doge news. Department of Education has been gutted. Now, the confusocracy is in play here. Confusocracy, that's the word I use. You have a democracy. You have a confusocracy. The Department of Education closed. Your corner schools will not be shuttered. There will be unemployment because people are going to be out of work. But our whole Department of Education is an antique model developed in the 70s. When it was created. We now work with home schools, private schools, charter schools, and hybrid approaches to education. I went to a private school. It's called Brigham Young University. Class of December 1995. Bachelor of Arts, degree in history, minor political science. So that's my accreditation. So I'm being transparent with you. These alternatives are where the success comes in. Who wins the spelling bees? The immigrant students who are homeschooled. We all know it. Let's get out of denial. This is a move in the right direction. So the Department of Education serves the teachers union, not the teachers and not the children. What's best for the students, what's best for your children, not what's best for the teachers union. These tasks will be outsourced. States will assume responsibilities in other departments such as Health and Human Services for like students in need, students with disability, Health and Human Services. We don't need it. I wasn't going to play this. Read a copy of the Communist Manifesto. One of the things that the communists wanted to do was take over education. It's a bit chilling when you read the Communist Manifesto, how many things we're doing here in America. And of course, that Ezra Taft Benson guy, he was a fanatic of it. Ernest L. Wilkinson, Ezra Taft Benson. So, Doge Rage. D-O-G-E-R-A-G-E. Doge Rage. Perfect sound to it. This Doge Rage is because Elon Musk is cutting off the gravy train. He's saying, okay, we're cutting the cable. You're not going to sit around watching porn all day on the internet. You need to get a job. And this is going to be the greatest opportunity in your life because you lost your job and you can reinvent yourself and become a better person. I have a friend of mine who lost his job, was laid off because of the cutback. So this is a perfect time to get books on job hunting, to reinvent yourself, head out a new direction. It's an opportunity. Remember Economics in One Lesson, which I talked about, Henry Hazlitt. You can get copies of that, Foundation for Economic Education, FEE.org. And when you're making economic decisions, the greatest problem is people make short-term decisions versus long-term decisions, impulse shopping, and they focus on the special interest groups versus the common good of all. So we're helping keep the Department of Education in place so to keep the teachers' unions happy. Do you think teachers' unions, do they serve the teachers or do they just serve themselves? Think about that. Well, that's the hard news. Here's some of the soft news, entertainment news. I do streaming. I watch SEAL Team, the old 1970 show Kung Fu, Stargate SG-1. I've gone to one travel. It's always good for a rerun of The Twilight Zone and cop segments. What Hollywood is producing is just garbage. I own stock in Disney. I own stock in Paramount. Universal's own. I don't have one in Comcast Universal right now, but I do own stock in these companies, and my intention to do that is as a shareholder I can vote. So last time when the vote with Disney came up, I let my voice be heard. I don't like the direction you're going. So we're getting around Easter. We're getting these movies coming out: The Last Supper, Life of Christ. Go to these religious ones. That's how you vote. You vote by money. That's number one. Money talks. Something else walks. This is family-friendly podcast. Money, reviews, online reviews, but also becoming a shareholder and voting a certain way. That's how you solve this problem. And number four is if you're an artist, start writing good stuff. The field is ripe. People are getting turned off by stuff. my writing, I write fiction under a pen name just to, I don't want to deal with the fame aspect. People who want to be famous are crazy. But yeah, this is an opportunity for writers. Numbers, money. The ideology isn't working, but Christ will work. Well, like I said, there's a lot of circular news going on. It's the same stuff. Trump and Musk do something. The mainstream media opposes it. Judges oppose it. It's circular news, confusocracy. But that's news with the eye of faith. And heaven help us, but I think we're heading the right direction. Keep it up.